The last piece I painted before 2020 was a piece I didn't even really like. Here it is. And I thought I would do this video because I didn't paint for the entire year 2020. Mostly because one, I'd lost my studio. Two, the pandemic hit and I didn't have time to look for a studio. Three, I moved locations, so I changed where the place where I live. So there was a lot going on in 2020, and I did not get a chance to pick up a paintbrush, which is the first time I have spent an entire year in 35 years of being an artist and not having painted for an entire year. So this piece, when I painted it, I so let me explain the my process of working. I block off at least 8 hours if I have the luxury to do so, and then within the first hour, I just use that time to get into my groove, get into the flow. And for me, getting into the flow means just opening up all the channels, just being receptive to information. I'm not talking about information as in, words coming through from people or reading something. I'm talking about just feeling what's deep down in my being, in my subconscious, and trying to put it in words. It's like the moment you just wake up and you still kind of like in a dream state, but you're barely aware of your environment. And in that state, I flow better. It's hard to explain. It's hard to put it in words. But let me just say, in that state, I am not tied to a subject. I am not thinking about a concept to follow through and create a painting on. So when I painted this, I was in that state, and I created the painting. It happened pretty fast, as most of my successful paintings happen, and within less than 8 hours, I had completed it. And it's an oil painting, so you can guess the struggles I go through with that. And at the bottom of it, there are these people, these protesters with signs, and above it, there's a skull like figure, as you can see. And I didn't like the painting, I didn't like it at all, because I didn't understand it. With some of my paintings, I can understand what's going on, I can feel the flow of it, I can kind of like relate to it in some sense. But with this one, I could barely get a hold of what it was about. I I was so tempted to paint over it so many times, but I didn't. Again, there was this inner knowing not to work over it. I work over a lot of my work, and I regret doing that a lot, but I still work over a lot of my work. Then 2020 hit, and I just moved into this apartment, so the painting was out, and I looked at it and realized that it was kind of like a premonition of the year 2020. There were the riots, the race riots, which were triggered by George Floyd's death, but also Ahmad's death. And there were a lot of protests in 2020, and then there was the virus. And so for me, the skull symbolizes the virus. The protests are self-evident. It just gave me chills to realize that this had come through a year prior to things happening. And again, it's a humbling experience to see that I'm a channel for such powerful well, premonitions. It's not something that I said I wanted to be or that I understand the mechanics of, but it happened, and this is evidence of it. So, how does this shape the way I view my artwork and the way I intend to paint going forward? I don't intend to change the way I paint, but I certainly do intend to change my perspective on the work I create. In other words, I'm not the judge of my work. Once I complete a painting, I am not going to work over it. I've worked over a lot of paintings, and looking back after the experience I had with this painting, it's not even titled. That's why I refer to it as this painting. Is that the work I create should be left alone, because even though I don't like it, I might not like it, I might not understand it. It's not my place to judge it. It's not my place to rework it. If I feel it's complete, then it's done. And I want to touch on that feeling is complete. There is an inner knowing that the piece is done, that the piece doesn't need any more work. The destruction of the work comes in when I feel I don't understand it, when I want to understand it, when I want to own it, own the meaning of the painting. So that's the part I'm going to resign and just leave out and not be bothered about understanding the work or trying to own it, having ownership to it.